Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the show. This is the Millennial Millionaire Podcast, and I am your host, Steven Cohen. This podcast is focused on bringing some of the wisest minds from across the globe to discuss concepts, strategies, and ideals that will lead them to be top performers in their respective industries and their lives. This show is for the millennials and millennials at heart to transcend their mindset, their health, and their income to the next level. We are so excited to have you on this journey with us. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show. This is Steven Cohen, your host, Millennial Millionaire. Today we have Oren Nell. Oren is a local here in Vegas. He's a double Golden Door winner back-to-back years, 2023 and 2024. He's an EcoShield owner. His organization has done over $20 million in revenue, a fellow direct sales vet. Dude, thanks for coming on the show.
Appreciate it, man. How are you?
Yeah, doing great, dude. So I always enjoy talking to other people in the industry. Because I feel like we can resonate on a level that maybe people outside of the direct sales door-to-door space can't. So, Oren, give us a little background. How did you get into entrepreneurship? And tell us a little bit about yourself, dude.
How it started. So I was going to a CSN out here, the JUCO, after high school, and I was going for business and marketing. Had no idea what I wanted to do. Just chose business and marketing because why not? And I ended up dropping out after one semester, and then I had no plan B, so I was just kind of screwed, and I ended up working at a juice bar at OVAC, one of the gyms out here. And my brother and my best friend actually got recruited by one of our buddies, and he finished up a solar summer and ended up telling my brother about it, and he only told one of my friends. And I found out probably, I want to say a few weeks later, that they were going out for the summer, and I was like, dude, what the heck, I don't want to be here alone. So I ended up DMing the guy, and I was like, yo, you got one spot left? Like, let me come out with you. Just complete lay down. And I told my other buddy, and so then we went out for our first summer over in Houston, Texas for a different company initially, and from there, the rest is history. You know, it was, I didn't have the best summer, I'd say, but just the experience that I had made me realize I was going to do this long term, and from there, just kind of followed the footsteps of people above me, and here we are.
Direct sales is so interesting because, especially I think past a little bit more than solar, but you guys attract a lot of college students and a lot of people that maybe
younger crowd for sure.
Yeah, people that maybe are trying to figure out their life. They have the freedom where they're able to drop their life for a summer, 4 or 5 months. Let's talk about college a little bit. What's your thoughts about college? Obviously, you're a dropout. I'm a dropout as well, which I think if we told people that 10 years ago, they would kind of give us a weird look. But nowadays, I think it's becoming a lot more common. Do you think young people, you guys attract a ton of young people. You've helped mentored a lot of people to help them hit six-figure plus incomes. Do you think college is important nowadays? And what do you think about the overall education system that people are going through?
I think it's subjective. I think I would be ignorant to say that, college is pointless or useless. I think the idea of college has slowly diminished and just the need for it in a way. I think if you're going for, to be a lawyer or a doctor or something that requires a degree, 100% go. But if you have no idea what you want to do, what career path you want to go down, and you're really just going because like you think you should or because your parents want you to, that's where I would give some pushback because, one, student loan debt, I believe it's the only debt that doesn't get forgiven if you file bankruptcy, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
And you just put yourself in a position where you set yourself back so far. Like I feel like, if you look at society, you typically don't see people really making huge success until they're in their 30s, like after college. And that just is mind-blowing to me after doing this. And what I would encourage everybody to do is realize how fast you can create huge success for yourself at any age, right? Like I got into this when I was 18. Yeah, I'm blessed for that. And I think so many people set themselves back so many years because they think that they have so much time to start. Like, screw that, get on it as soon as possible. So my thoughts on college, I personally think it's a waste of time unless you're going for something serious that needs it. Other than that, it's a waste of your money. Buckle down, get into something now, whether it's sales or whatever it may be. I'd say start sooner than later.
Yeah, I agree with you, dude. I think back maybe a decade ago, so I'm 31 now, and back when I graduated high school, it was 2011, went straight to college in 2012, and it felt like if you didn't go to college, you were going to be a loser and be in your parents' basement and not do anything with your life, and that was the pressure I felt too, so dropping out was very unorthodox. But I think now in the 21st century where you have YouTube, you have access to social media. You see all these young influencers and people on TikTok and YouTube that are making absorbent amount of money and success and living a lifestyle. I think it's exposing college a little bit more, where if you're not specific, like you said, with your plan, and you don't want to go to school to be a doctor, lawyer, surgeon, or some type of trade, and you're just going as a general concept of, hey, I want to make money when I get into an adult, there's so many better ways to get a free education, maybe a self-education.
100%.
Jim Rohn talks about that if you get a formal education, you'll make a living, but if you make a self-education, you're going to make a fortune. And I think door-to-door, direct sales, network marketing, really anything that you can bet on yourself and that you can learn real-life skills, communication, etc., will turn into something super valuable long-term. So for you, Oren, you got into a door-to-door at a really early age, 18 years old. Did you always have like ambition and motivation that entrepreneur spirit? I know your dad is an entrepreneur. He runs a pool company. Where did that come from? And do you think all young people have that similar drive, or do you think you were unique? Where does that come from?
Not at all. I think I was probably the worst of the bunch. You know, I am very blessed to, you know, both my parents are entrepreneurs, seeing, you know, what my dad has built. He's the definition of the American dream, I guess you can say. Just coming from nothing, building something very successful up. I think where a lot of kids fall into is just at a young age, you're very ignorant and you think that maybe you know it all and whatever it may be. And so when I first got into this, my first summer, I was a delinquent. You know, all I cared about was partying, whatever it is. I had zero work ethic. I was probably my dad's worst employee, you know, and it wasn't until I was forced to develop those skill sets. Because the way I look at it, I think work ethic and discipline are serious skill sets you need to develop. I don't think it's something you typically are born with. You can have, you know, people around you who are a role model to it. Once you start to develop it, then it's a little bit easier to kind of, you know, get better, and because you see the path. But back when I was 18 years old, I needed to develop that skill set. And so when I went out for my first summer, I was forced to work harder than I've ever worked before. And it's because I was around everybody who was 18, 19, 20, older, that were outworking me, making way more money than me. And it was, you know, fight or flight at that point. So once I started to work harder, that's when it became easier to work hard, I guess I can say, because I started to develop that. But 100%, I would say it's okay for most kids that are 18, you know, to not have that work ethic, but just to really understand that those are things you need to develop. And when it comes to sales, I push this more than anything because I'm a big believer that sales is the root of all success. It's the highest paying profession in the world for a reason. It's the core root of any business. If you think of relationship developing, sales, marketing, networking, it all stems to that. And so if you can develop that skill set alone, I think you master everything. And so that's what I would push on anybody, but understand that it's okay to not be some insane workhorse off rip. It comes with time to develop that for sure.
I agree 100%. It sounds like proximity is really, really important, especially
100%.
from a young age.
Yeah.
Because my story is pretty similar. I didn't get into door-to-door when I was that young, but I got into network marketing around like 22 years old. And up until that point, I thought life was you go to school, you get good grades, you work a job, you work your way up corporate America, and if you weren't born into wealth, then you basically have to struggle your whole life unless you hit the lottery. And I was destined for a very average life because that was my proximity, that was my worldview, that's my upbringing and what I was raised on. And it wasn't until I had a bit of a paradigm shift and a culture shock where I was exposed to young people at the time, 21, 22, making $20,000, $30,000 a month from their smartphone, that something clicked in my mind to make me realize that you don't have to do the thing that everyone says that you have to do. And just because your parents never made much money, or maybe your peers or your fraternity brothers or whatever environment that you grew up in, just because they didn't have big goals and dreams didn't mean that you had to adopt those philosophies. So proximity, I think, is extremely important, especially from a young age, because it almost unlocks this new worldview where it's almost kind of like you eat the forbidden fruit and then there's no looking back. The first time that you realize that you can go live a life on your terms, have flexibility in schedule, have no cap on your income, and you can actually enjoy your job, that was a big aha moment for me. I don't know about you. Growing up, all the jobs that I worked, I never enjoyed them. I was a courtesy clerk at Smith's. I used to push carts. Then I was a lifeguard. And I just thought you work and you make money and you go home and work sucks and you live for the weekends. And then I met people who actually enjoyed what they did and they were fulfilled and they were passionate. And it was such a different environment for me that I really fell in love with the concept of enjoying what you do. So tell me a little bit about proximity and how important it is to maybe be more intentional with who you're surrounding yourself with and the environment you put yourself into.
Yeah, I think it's arguably the biggest thing, especially when you're young, because like I went to a public school, right?
Same.
And I think
Clark education sucks.
It's horrible. And I think even if you go to private school, like say guys who go to Gorman out here in Vegas, but typically 9 times out of 10 when you're surrounded by young guys in high school, even after high school, beginning of college, they're not winners, right? Which is fine because they haven't, and when I say winners, I don't mean guys who are just uber successful. I mean more on people who just put work into themselves and progressing, but also have a clear line of where they want to go and are actively trying to get better, right? It's rare to find people like that aren't just all talk. And what this kind of does, and what it did for me, is it singled out, a group of guys where I just went into that circle, where everybody in that circle was that kind of person. And as a man, I can't speak for women, but I think as a man, that's hands down the most important thing for you to just be a good man, right? You got to be around good people. You got to be around better people than you. And you got to be around guys who are chasing after the same thing. And so it sucks that it's so hard to find. I think today it's become more of a hot trend, though, just with, everybody's looking at entrepreneurship and personal development and whatever it is. So there is a lot more of it now, but it's tough to find that circle. And so I'm a big believer that proximity is 100% power. You should do everything you can to get rid of anybody around you that's bringing you down in any sort of way. Like back in high school when I was a delinquent and doing stupid stuff and a bad kid and didn't care about school, it's 100% because of the people I surrounded myself with. There's zero question about that. As soon as I remove myself from that environment and plug myself into this type of environment, everything changed.
I'm curious. So what do you think comes first? Because I agree. Obviously, law of association states you are the people that you surround yourself with, right? You're a sum of your association. Do you think there's an adage that says when the teacher is ready or when the student is ready, the teacher will appear? Do you think someone needs to come to that conscious decision first where they want to make a change in their life, which will entail change their association? Or do you think they need to seek out the association first, which then entails the change in their life?
That's a good question. I would say I think they need to decide on their own that they want to make the change, really, because it's the saying, like, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Same type of thing. Like, I think that's where a lot of guys struggle, though, is one, they either don't realize they need to change or they don't think the change is possible. I feel like a lot of people deal with that. And that really stems from just gaining true belief in yourself. And that gets tricky because sometimes if you have such low confidence and you don't have somebody above you to kind of give you that confidence, it is tough to gain real belief in yourself and what you can do. But the reality is, like, once you're 18, 19, 20, like, you hit a point where you got to just buckle down and figure it out. I think you can act like a child up to a certain point, and then you got to start acting like a man and figure things out. And so once you hit that point, you got to make the decision, like, hey, I want to make this change. I want to be this kind of guy. I want to have this type of growth in my life. You should always think long-term in a way, right? Short-term for your goals when it comes to making decisions, but long-term just the man that you want to become. And as long as you're clear-minded in that, you should 100% be able to make the decision on your own. I think a lot of people, especially today, are relying on other people to bring them their success, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with having mentors or whatever that may be, but you have to have your own back before anything. And so that just comes through, living longer life, maturing, having experiences, getting out of your comfort zone, going in different friend groups, whatever it may be. But yeah, I believe 100% you have to make the decision first, and then people around you can start helping you out a little bit more.
I agree, dude. So, Oren, for those that don't know, you're a back-to-back double Golden Door winner. Tell people what that means. That's top 1% in the industry, which is extremely hard to do. I'm not in the pest control industry, but I know, obviously, the metrics and the amount of work that takes. So tell me a little bit about that journey, and I want to go into what it takes to actually achieve a high performance like that.
Yeah, so for you guys who don't know, Golden Door Award is the top 1% industry-wide, and you got, pest, roofing, solar, security, whatever it is. I think they're actually doing real estate now.
Really?
Golden Door, which is pretty interesting, yeah. So I've had it the past 2 years in a row. I've been top 10 in the company the past 3 years in a row. the journey with that is pretty crazy. So my first summer knocking in Houston, I was horrible. You know, I did my first 2 weeks out there, I actually didn't sell a single thing. I was one of the only guys bagling every day. I was calling my dad, asking him to buy me a flight home. I was like, I can't do this. I'm done. I ended up trying to, just buckle down. I made the decision, kind of like what we're talking about. Realized that nobody's going to bring me my success. And I finished the summer. I did like 105K, decent. Going into my second summer is when I really decided that, I could do something big. And so I sold 330K my second summer. So a little 3X jump. My following summer, I sold 475K, and that's when I realized like I could actually do this. And what's crazy is that following summer, I was actually going for top 10 the first year, and I finished like number 12. I fell out in the last month, which is horrible. But after that, I was like, I'm 100% one of the best guys. I should be top 10 every single year. And so the next 3 years, top 10. Past 2 years, Golden Door. The journey with it, it's intense, it's fun, but I think what it really came down to was I went from being just a sales rep to actually developing a team and running an organization. And when you're producing for something, you're working for something much bigger than you, that's hands down the most motivation, in my opinion, at least what pushes me. And so when it came to that, I just felt more motivated than ever. So hitting those kind of numbers just came easier, I guess you can say. And I think what it just came down to was, just showing the guys that it's actually possible and removing any excuses that can be made. Like there's a million excuses that guys can make, whether, especially in this industry, they've done this for so long they don't want to knock anymore. Or they have too big of a team they can't knock anymore. Or they want to focus on their personal sales and not recruit, or vice versa, whatever it is. Just to eliminate all those distractions, no matter how big your team is, how long you've done this. Going on my 6th summer, I hit it again. Just removing all that so everybody below me can't say that stuff. And so that's what definitely pushed me more. But the journey with it, it's been awesome. I'm blessed that I was able to push myself to my limit and see what I could do. I still got a little fire under my butt because I haven't done what I fully want to do yet, and I think I could do more. But it's been a pretty long ride.
I really like what you said there. There's a lot of people that are in the door-to-door space, direct sales, listening, and whether you're in solar, pest, alarms, roofing, etc., I think it's so wise. I wouldn't be able to do this for going on 10 years now if I didn't evolve into the team building, mentoring, recruiting, supporting area of the space and not just focus on my own performance. I think burnout is a concept that a lot of people talk about. I don't believe in burnout. I think it's just you feeling some type of way when you take your eye off the prize, when you don't reinvent yourself and you forget why you're doing the thing that you're doing, or you hit your originally why and you're not able to evolve it. But one of the things that have really pushed me through the challenging times is always making sure that there's people depending on me. 100%. You'll only do so much for yourself, but if you have other people depending on you, whether it's your brother, whether it's a new person, someone you recruited from a restaurant who maybe dropped their life to come out for 4 months to get mentored, you're going to push through the challenging times and the complacency a lot more if you were just depending on yourself. So I think that's very wise. And I want to talk about team building and recruiting in a little bit. But what was that mindset shift? Because in my experience doing this 10 years, whether you're in door-to-door direct sales or you're a entrepreneur, whenever you make income jumps like that, because obviously in door-to-door, it's all about revenue, performance, and sales, but that also reflects to a certain amount of income.
Yeah.
And what I found is, and I don't know if you agree with me, is people will get stuck at a certain income level for year after year after year 100%. Because they will hit the goal that they originally thought that they couldn't achieve. They'll hit it, and then they'll hit their financial set point, and they'll get complacent. What do you think for you was the reason where you were able to continue to progress and maybe shatter some of those limiting financial beliefs at such a young age where so many other people get stuck in quagmire in those income jumps?
Yeah. I think it honestly doesn't make sense to me, why people are okay with staying at the same income. Like me personally, by the time I was 19-ish, my second summer, I was making 6 figures, right? I made 16 grand my first summer and then over 130 grand my second summer.
10x.
Right? And that alone eliminated that thought from me completely. It didn't make sense. I still see guys who have done this for 5-6 years who make pretty much nothing, and because it is commission based, right? You get paid your work on your work, and it doesn't make sense to me, because if I'm in a position, I'm in a job that is legit a cheat code to your life, if you do it correctly, right? The rewards you receive are insane, the lifestyle you can gain, but you have to be willing to put in the work. And the reality is, it's not that hard. You just have to be coachable, and at the end of the day, just go out there and have some sort of work ethic. But for me, when I looked at this, I saw guys who are insanely successful in this, right? Guys like Austin or Pat or whatever it may be. And then I saw guys who have done this for a long time who aren't that successful. And seeing that was just easy. I was like, okay, I just made a 10x jump from the last summer within a year, right? And then I'm looking at these other guys who are genuine millionaires from this, and the hardest thing that they really do throughout their day is they answer some meetings, right? And then they get to train some guys. That sounds like the best job in the world. All I have to do is try to get better every single day, perfect my craft, understand that I'm not nearly as good as I want to be, learn from people above me who have done what I want to do times 10, and just never get complacent. As long as I follow in line with those 3 things, I'll be good. And that's what I've done. And every single summer, after every summer, my commission has increased by over $100,000, right? And a lot of guys I know, they don't do that, but it's not some rocket science to me. It's simple plug and play. Understand that you have an amazing opportunity. And I talked to my dad about this when we were first really getting into it, and he's grinded his whole life, starting this business since 2008. Hardest worker I've ever known. And he told me that he would do anything to be able to have this kind of opportunity when he was a kid, and just conversations like that, seeing people around me, like it blows my mind that people aren't willing to put in the work to get to this point and further.
What do you think it is? Because I agree with you.
Yeah.
I've had the same mentality, and I think a lot of it's perspective, and I want to dive into that a little bit. It's the way you view certain things that determines your performance and determines how you work or don't work. But what do you think it is that keeps people stuck? Because I think a lot of people listening, maybe they're in a job, or maybe they're doing direct sales or whatever the case is, and they're just stuck. They don't know what it is. Maybe it's a work ethic thing. Maybe it's a skill set thing. Maybe it's a mindset thing. But what do you think it is that really holds people back in a 100% commission job where you have no cap on your income and you can literally create anything you want out of the opportunity? Why do people get subpar results?
If I had to nail it down to one thing, I would say a lot of people just simply lack discipline, and what sucks to say is majority of people rely on motivation just to get them up to do anything. And as fun as that is sometimes, you watch a video, whatever it is, and you're hyped, you're ready to go, motivation will be gone like that. And if you don't have discipline to just back you up, when it's the worst day, the best day, you have no energy, you don't want to do it, whatever it may be, you're never going to have long-term growth, because the reality is also most days are going to suck. You're going to have more bad days than good days. And discipline is the root to all success, in my opinion, but it's also a skill set. And I think a lot of people just don't put in the work to develop their true discipline. And what that comes down to is becoming a man of habit and routine. As soon as I changed all my routines and my habits, became a robot with it, that's when I got super disciplined. Being active in the gym and taking care of their health, feeding their mind, learning from people, and just doing everything they can to develop that, and just doing hard things. Like you see everybody preaching about cold plunges and stuff now, but like ultimately what that comes down to, like for me, the way I look at it is just doing something hard that I don't want to do every single day. Like when I started cold plunging, it's the hardest part of my day. I hate it. I do it right in the morning when I first wake up, and it sucks. But every time I get out, I know that I won the day, and that increases my discipline more and more. And it's never I maxed out my like I'm good, I don't have to do anymore. It's something you got to chase every single day, but you're getting better at it when you can do the tough things you don't want to do easier. And so that's what I think people lack, and they just simply suck at, and they're just not willing to put the work in.
I love it, dude. There's a great quote. It says, you don't have a business problem. You have a life problem that's affecting your business.
Yep.
Tony Robbins talks about how you're preached in public for what you practice in private. And I think it's a lot of what you've just discussed. It's what are you doing off the doors? What are you doing outside of the office? What are you doing when no one's watching that is helping you develop the standards, the habits, the routines? and the rituals in order to allow you to perform like a professional when you get on the doors, when you're in the office, when you're in the boardroom giving that presentation. I think too many people, they're casual with their routine. They're casual with what they do outside of the door. So when they show up for a summer or they show up for a blitz, they're not able to perform to the level that they're capable, because deep down they probably don't believe they're enough because they haven't done the work outside of
100%.
the office.
One thing I always stress to my boys and anybody listening to this who does door-to-door, please understand that your summer is made in the off season 1,000%. One thing I see a lot is somebody will come off of a summer, and let's say they do a bare minimum summer. They simply expect the experience that they have to 100x or 100% jump on their next summer, which just isn't the case at all. You simply have to get better in every single way, and that's what the off season is for. And too many guys just look at it to, lounge around and travel all the time and not take it serious and put any time into themselves. That's how you're going to have a complacent year and a complacent summer, and you're just never going to have exponential growth. And what I encourage you guys to do is every single day try to get better. Whether it's learning your craft in this, learning from people above you, getting more discipline, just doing hard stuff, because it drives me freaking nuts when guys are like, oh, how do I get to where you're at? How do I get better? Like, just put in the work. It's not that crazy. So treat your off seasons like your summer. There is no off season. It's the on season. I think if you make that switch alone, it changes everything when it comes to this.
I agree, dude. Let's talk about confidence and conviction. Everyone knows, especially in our industry, you need to be confident.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be confident to build a $20 million a year organization. You have to be confident to go sell, 10 solar installs in a month. You have to be confident to go get your dream car, your dream house, your dream girl. In your experience, dude, how have you built confidence and conviction in your journey so far?
I would say, so I wasn't always confident. Like, I think I definitely gave off a confident vibe just because I was such an extrovert, whether it's high school or whatever it is. But deep down, like, you know what's real. You know that if you're not confident, and I would even say, like, right now I'm the most confident guy ever. I'm a pretty extroverted guy. Like, I'm very confident myself. Ultimately, I think you gain true confidence by simply just staying true to your commitments that you make to yourself, right? If you tell yourself you're going to do something, do it. And if you do that for a long time, you're going to be the most confident guy in the room no matter what. And a lot of people fall short on that because they just look for, what people think of them, or try to chase the cloud aspect of it, or make it seem like they're doing so much more than they actually are. But, like, reality is, like, what you're doing, what you're falling short on, and it does nothing but hurt you in the long run. And I think it's such a subliminal thing that people don't even really realize, is it just compounds and compounds and compounds. So the longer you don't stay true to your commitments, the least confident you're going to be, and it's just going to affect you in the long run. And I also believe that it's impossible to have true belief in yourself and where you want to go and be a true leader if you don't have true confidence in yourself. And so I think all those things kind of align, and it's crucial to reach all those points. So to put it simply, stay true to your commitments, do what you say you're going to do. Don't be a liar. It will never get you anywhere.
I love this space so much because whether it's talking to you or, really anyone in our space that is operating at a high level, a lot of the principles are very similar. A lot of the philosophies, a lot of the mindsets, where when you're in this space of 100% performance, direct sales, whatever, door to door, everyone has this personal development mindset where it's almost infused in the culture of personal development, which I think is the greatest thing ever, because at the end of the day, you bring yourself wherever you go. And I think there's a lot of other industries out there, whether you're a solopreneur, maybe you're self-employed, you're working for someone, internship, corporate America, whatever, where there's not as much personal development infused in the culture and the environment, which I think is causing a lot of detriment in that organization. How do you feel like you can cultivate such an environment of personal development where people are focused on growth, they're focused on progression, they're focused on their attitude? And why do you think so many organizations don't have that as their main focus for their people?
Yeah, I mean, I think what it all stems down to is your culture and your leadership. And I agree 100%. This is a personal development job that you can just make a lot of money with, which is awesome. But I think most work environments, they just simply lack a good culture and they lack leadership. And I mean, I think back to jobs that I worked before I got into this and how much I hated it, and it just wasn't a fun environment. It wasn't productive. It wasn't motivating. I didn't have a good relationship with the leaders. It was more of a fear thing, and that's all wrong. And I think it's sad to see, because if more places had good culture, I think everybody would just live a happier life, right? You hear about 9-to-5 jobs, and usually people hate them. They're miserable. They work at an office, whatever it is. They just hate their life. And ultimately, like, if the people they surrounded themselves with just started to focus on themselves and looked at the environment of where they're working as more of a progression in their life, everything would change. But that all stems from the top. And a lot of leaders just don't care about the people they work with. They look at them as money signs. I'm not too sure why in most commission-based jobs that's different. Like I was going to get into real estate. I was hired at a brokerage, and even like at the brokerage when I was there, it seemed like a very fun culture, environment. The owner of the brokerage was there talking. Everybody had good relationships, and that's what it's all about. I just think most businesses, the leaders don't really actually care about their employees, and that all just spirals into a terrible culture. It's not fun. It's not productive, and just doesn't get anywhere.
Yeah, it's very transactional.
Yeah,
there's,
100%.
There's a big difference between being a manager and a leader, right? There's a lot of managers in our space that are absolutely leaders, and there's a lot of people at the top of organizations that aren't leaders.
Yep.
There's people on the bottom of organizations that are leaders. I think leadership is more of a choice than a title. It's not something that you can be appointed in. Sure, you could be appointed or earn a leadership position, but it doesn't make you a leader at the end
100%.
of the day. And leadership's so important. We could talk about that a little. I think you're a fan of John C. Maxwell. He talks about the concept, the law of the lid, where your level of effectiveness, aka the level of income and results you'll receive in your professional career, is capped based on your level of leadership. If you're a level 4 leader, you'll never be able to obtain or sustain level 4 or above results. It'll always be less than that. How has direct sales impacted your leadership, and what is something maybe that you have learned over your journey when it comes to being a great leader in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I was never, I guess I was put in a leadership position before this. I played rugby growing up, and I was a captain. You know, my dad was the coach, so I'm guessing that's why I was a captain. But
Yeah.
that was a leadership position, but I was hands down probably one of the worst leaders ever. You know, I was screaming at the guys. I was yelling at my dad on the field. It was intense. I had no idea what to do. And coming into, door-to-door sales, direct sales, it really teaches you how to be a leader. And it's for a factor of reasons. One, you're simply learning from, in my opinion, some of the greatest leaders that you can even be a part of. And that fully stems to just the relationships that they develop with their guys. And I think leadership, true leadership, is, if I had to break it down, I would say it's building quality relationships, doing what you say you're going to do, and just leading from the front, right? It's kind of like the triangle that I look at of how leadership is. And when I came into direct sales and saw that, it honestly just changed my perspective on everything. Because whether you watch movies like, let's say it's like Wolf of Wall Street or something crazy, and you look at these bosses and how they are, and you think that they're just like some big honcho guys who sit in their office and just command orders, and that's how a lot of the world is. But when I came into this, these are some of the wealthiest people I've ever met who seem like the average guy you'd talk to. And it just changed my perspective on all of it. And so when it came to me developing my ability to be a leader, seeing that blueprint is what I wanted to follow, just creating genuine relationships with my guys, never telling them to do something that I wasn't already doing and doing it at a higher level. Just leading from the front in every single aspect. Like, for guys who do door-to-door would understand this, but like till this day, if personally, like, I could not knock and nobody would say anything, right? I could take the longest lunch in the world and nobody's going to care. I get anxiety just from going to the gas station, to use the bathroom or whatever it is. I don't do any of that. I don't take any breaks in my car, nothing, just because I get this feel. I guess the best way I could put this is I put so much pressure on myself to constantly lead from the front in every single angle. And it may not be healthy at all times, but it's put me in a place where I refuse to let any of my guys outwork me or do more than me. And I think it sets a good level of just respect that your guys will have for you, because they know that they can't question your effort, your loyalty, your overall buy-in, and just your passion. I think a lot of people lack that. A lot of people think that because their title, kind of like what you were saying, they reach, manager or owner on paper, that it gives them this position of where they can just kind of sit back and coast, which I completely disagree with. I think the higher your position goes, the harder you should work, and nobody should ever outwork you. And I learned that because of this guy Gaines, who works in our company, president of sales, and he outworks everybody. There's a single person in EcoShield who works harder than that guy, and that motivates me a ton because he is making a ton of money, more than anybody, and he's in the position where he could sit back and coast, but he has a vision of where he wants to take this, and that's where his work ethic falls in line with. It's not the idea of, oh, let me just sit back and command people. It's more on let me lead the charge and show these guys how to do it. So that's the path that I took. That's the path I think everybody should take. Stop being so dang lazy, based on your title, and never expect anybody to follow you for your title. They follow you for who you are, not what you are. And that's where a lot of people fall short.
Dropping bars, Oren, dropping bars. And I agree. There's so much weight in your word when you're leading from the front and you're actually still relevant doing the job. Vibes don't lie. And it's hard to have conviction when you're telling people to go do something if you're not doing it yourself. It's hard to have conviction if you tell your guys to invest and level up in life if you're not investing and leveling up in your life. So I found the easiest way to continue to level up, and hopefully as the water rises, so do the boats, is you continue to level up yourself, focus on what you can control, because there's a lot of things that we can't control in our industry and life. So if we can focus on the things that we can control, and the thing that we have absolute control in is our attitude. It's how we approach the day. It's how we're tending to ourselves so we can continue to progress. And as a byproduct, we'll have the conviction and we'll have the results in order to help our guys level up as well.
100%, yeah.
So I agree. Oren, so in order to be a top 1%, obviously takes a lot, What do you think separates yourself and other people that you've seen in this industry, the top 1%, from the 99%? Because there's a lot of people that me and you have both trained, mentored, and seen that have come into this industry and tell you all the great things they're going to do and all the money they're going to make and the reason why they're going to do all these things. And unfortunately, most of those people don't pan out, and there's a very small percentile of people that actually do what they say and continue to level up in this industry every single year. What do you think separates that 1% from the 99%?
Yeah, I would say it's really not as much as people would think. And one thing that I thought when I was trying to come up as, I remember my first award show, I was sitting in the very back of the room. It was me and my brother, a few of our buddies. I was looking around. I was like, dang, I can never be like one of these guys, going up there, top 10 guys. They're just naturally great at this, They're just anomalies. What I came to realize is if I had to lay out the formula for this to go from being average to great, and I don't know the exact order I'd put this in, but your preparation, how coachable you are, your attitude, and then your work ethic. That's it. What I think truly, truly will separate most guys is their preparation, and actually actively trying to get better in every single way. My big summer where I had a big jump, where I knew I could be top 10, I was going for it. I could honestly say that I prepared more than anybody. And I may have not, but in my head, that's what I was telling myself because I was working like a dog. I would hit up every single guy in the company who was ever great. I'd hop on a call with them. I'd DM them until they responded. They're probably like, who the heck is this random kid? And I would just keep hitting them up until they responded to me. And I would pick their brain on everything, their routines, their habits, their mindset of when they went from a bad summer to a good summer, what it took for them to hit top 10. We have videos of guys' pitches, and I'd write out their entire pitch, and I'd take little things from that and put into my pitch. I would copy their habits and their routines and try to put it into my life and how I like it, and just try to mimic everything that they were doing and slowly figured out what I like and what suits me based on taking little things from everybody and just staying super consistent with trying to get more discipline, understanding that I'm not where I want to be and that I have a long way to go. But as long as I'm actually doing what I got to do every day, I'm good. And just staying consistent with that. And it's really not that much. Figure out a solid routine that you can follow every day. A lot of guys make the mistake of trying to, go super hard off rip and, whether it's wake up at 5 a.m. when they normally wake up at 10 and run a mile in the morning and then cold plunge and then follow a super strict, like whatever it is, like a routine to me, it doesn't matter so much of what you're doing. It matters to me that you're doing the exact same thing at the exact same time every single day in the exact same order. You're doing productive things and one thing hard. If that's your routine, you can do that every day, you're good. And then as you do that more consistently, you feel more disciplined with it, add some more stuff on. But you have to get a routine. So I became as routine as I possibly could to the point to where I was legit a robot. And you're very routine when there's a day you miss something and your entire day feels off. Like for me in the summertime, I have to be an absolute robot with my routines to where I listen to the same song before I knock. I say the same affirmations to myself. I have to drink a yellow Gatorade every morning, same 5-hour energy. Like I do the same routine in everything. And there was a day this past summer where I legit didn't drink a yellow Gatorade and my entire day was off. And I had to go to the gas station midday, get a Gatorade, and I had a phenomenal day to finish off. It's so weird how it works, but becomes so routine to where if you miss a single thing, everything feels like it's falling apart. That's how you know you're doing good with it.
There's two things there I want to touch on that I think are very interesting. Anchors, which is what it sounds like you're using with doing the yellow Gatorades, doing the 5-hour energy. For those that don't know what an anchor is, it's essentially when you make a sale, and then some people use the boom boom smells or they have a certain hand pose. But whenever you're in a peak state, if you can create some type of physical trigger, whether that's a yellow Gatorade, whether that's some type of smell, some type of song, like you said, you listen to the same song, you can almost refabricate that same amount of feeling and get yourself in peak state, because a lot of sales, a lot of life is just being able to have state management. It's being 100%. Able to tap in and get dialed in when you need to. And one of the easy ways to do that is to anchor that feeling to something external. So you're not relying on willpower. You have external things in order to do that. That's number one. And the second thing I thought was really interesting is you go for long-term sustainability over short-term intensity. I think a lot of people, they can have a good week, they could have a good month, they could have a good quarter. Some people could even have a good year, but when you track people's success or you track their trajectory, time will either promote or expose you. You can't fake success, you can't fake routine, you can't fake the funk forever, and you will be exposed when that short-term intensity eventually runs out. Everything that I've tried to do is always sustainability, where maybe it's not the fastest, maybe I'm not the sprinter, but I will outlast you and I'll continue to make progression week after week, month after month, year after year, because I'm building sustainability in everything I do, not just trying to blitz for a short period of time and then fall off and then lose that momentum and have to start over.
Exactly. I think hands down consistency is the most important part when it comes to that. And the tricky part about it, I think the reason so many people struggle with routines is because that's one of those things that nobody else is watching you do. You know, that's behind closed doors, and that's where that discipline has to kick in, because there's those days where you don't want to do something and you're the only person who's going to know whether you did it or not. And that's where, you know, staying true to your commitments really, really has to take effect. Because the long, and please, like, people got to understand, like, if you're listening to this and you don't feel like you're routine, it's okay to feel like every single day is the same. I love that. You know, like, every day you should be doing the exact same thing. But please understand that if you create a routine, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't have to listen to, like, these, you know, I think what makes it tough is people look at TikTok and Instagram today and they see all these people doing this crazy stuff and they feel like they have to do that right away. Understand that those people were not running 10 miles off rip or doing some crazy marathons, whatever it may be, without the preparation leading into it. So understand there's baby steps. So if you aren't routined, start tomorrow, wake up a little bit earlier, hit the gym at the same time, and just stay dang consistent with it, because if you don't, you're only going to just bite yourself in the butt in the long run, and I promise you will never have long-term success or growth in this, and that's guaranteed. I don't know one single person in this company who is insanely successful who isn't routined. And that stems even, you listen to interviews with athletes or whatever it is, they all form the exact same way. They all live the exact same way. Tom Brady is extremely routine if you ever watch his videos. Even Mark Zuckerberg, he's so routine to where he wears the exact same outfit every day and he has it laid out the night before. Like, that's a freak version of it. You don't got to go that far. But if the best people in the world, the most successful people in the world, whether it's entrepreneurship, athletes, whatever it may be, are like that, then it's not even a question that you should be like that.
Well said, dude. I want to pivot a little bit because I'm curious your response. So what I've found is, and in myself as well, with highly ambitious people, high achievers, we have this hunger and this ambition. That's why we're in the industry we are. Sales, doesn't matter how good you did last year or the year before, you start from zero every single day. And you have to get up and grind and have that restart, which a lot of people can't do. I think one of the negative factors, though, about what we do is we get so conditioned into that achievement muscle that sometimes we lose a little bit of that fulfillment, where I imagine when you started, or when you were 18, there's most of the goals you probably written down, you probably achieved. And when you achieve that, maybe it feels good for a little bit, but I don't know how you feel about this. I know when I achieved, whether it was retiring my parents, buying my dream car, buying my house, whatever the accomplishment is, I enjoy it, and then it's what's next, what's next, what's next. Do you feel like you struggle or there's challenges with fulfillment and achievement, and how do you balance those two where you're not just continuously focused on the future where it robs you of the present?
Yeah, no, great question. I think for me, I definitely struggle with that in the beginning. Like when you're young, maybe not even if you're young, but when you just first start to make some sort of success, especially when you hit that first 6-figure mark, you are on top of the world and you think you've made it. You think life is coasting. You got nothing else to worry about. And it's really, really easy to lose sight of your goals and where you really want to go based on the emotions that you feel in the moment, right? And what helped me is obviously always have goals for yourself long term, whether it's financial goals, non-materialistic goals, whether it's goals on how you want to raise a family, whatever it may be. What helped me stay the most present and understanding that I'm not where I want to be is my goals being more focused on who I am and my growth more than financial goals or anything like that. Because those, like materialistic goals, don't get me wrong, they fire me up. But thinking about the man I am now and the man I can become, that fires me up way more. And when I just think about just the lifestyle that I can live and the materialistic things that I can have, because I developed myself to reach those things, that's what changed it all for me. And I stopped being so, ignorant to, the money I was making right then and there and thinking I'm on top of the world, because reality is I'm not. You can spend your money way faster than you can make it. But again, just focus on yourself more than anything, and I guarantee you will not lose motivation, and you will 100% hit your goals. And you'll probably do more than you thought you could.
Yeah, I heard this, that there's 4 levels of motivation, and maybe you can relate because I definitely could. The first level is survival. You're motivated to survive. Maybe put a roof over your head for your family, have good food, clean water, shelter, have the bare necessities. Mm-hmm. Most people in America, thankfully have that. Check. Second is monetary. You're motivated by monetary things. I want more money. I want a nicer house. I want a nicer car. I want nice things, watches, jewelry, dinner, nice vacations, etc. But at some degree, at some level, that motivation fleets and you're not as motivated to go do those things. The third level is financial freedom. You evolve from, hey, I want nicer things to, hey, I want full control over my life. I want to do what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, and the things that I do, I want to do because I want to, not because I have to, which is, I think, the phase that I'm at right now. I'm to a point where I have a lot of nice things and I have a nice little nest egg, but if solar went down tomorrow, I couldn't fully walk away and retire. I would need more passive income. And then the fourth motivation, because me and you both know people, whether it's we study them online or know them personally, who have all the money in the world, they're deca millionaires with generational wealth, but yet they're still grinding. They're still out there putting on conferences, making podcasts, running businesses. What motivates them? Well, it's legacy. It's they want to create something that surpasses them, and they want to create something that will outlast their name. And I feel like if you're not mindful of what stage you're at, sometimes you won't be able to fully maximize the phase of your life. Like you said, right? When I first hit six figures, similar to you, I thought it was all the money in the world. I thought I could retire my parents.
Yep.
This is back in 2016, which is a lot more money than it is now. Today, six figures is really like $40K a year, and you can barely live off it.
Crazy.
But it wasn't until I had to achieve those different phases where I could really be present and be able to leverage the motivation of the next level of life that I was at. So I'm curious for you, dude, at this stage of your life where you've had some good success, you're obviously far from where you want to go. How do you stay dialed, and how do you continue to reignite that fire without losing focus and without feeling any type of complacency?
Yeah. I would say kind of like what I was saying before. Pressure is a huge thing for me. Everybody's trying to say like pressure is a privilege. I fully believe that. I really put a ton of pressure on myself, and I think sometimes it could be in a little bit of an unhealthy way, but just the way that I function and the way that I think and what motivates me is just putting that pressure on myself keeps me from ever getting complacent in a way. And that's pressure of the business, pressure of the boys watching me, pressure on, making parents proud, pressure of making myself proud. All of those angles, and just truly like holding myself accountable. When it comes to like the focus aspect of it, that comes pretty easy to me just because I have spent a lot of time just to get clear on what I want. And again, for me, it's not like the end all be all is not the materialistic things in that sense, but kind of like what you're saying, like it'd be the biggest blessing in the world to have an insane legacy or create generational wealth as opposed to just some riches. That's the stuff that really drives me and pushes me. And just creating something much bigger than myself. And so it's not a very exact particular goal in a way, but it's big enough and it's clear enough to where I'm fully focused on it. I know that if I keep doing what I'm doing, I will get there. And that's something that really helps me too, is understand that I don't need to reinvent the wheel or find a new blueprint. All I have to do is follow what's already been done and listen to people above me. And if I can stay focused with that, I'm good. I don't have to, develop some crazy new skill set or whatever it is, or, change my lifestyle completely. Like, no, I'm in a position where I can get there because the people above me are there. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. And it becomes a no-brainer to not lose focus on that sense, but tying everything in with just staying disciplined. Like, you have to constantly be working on yourself and staying routined to stay disciplined so you can stay focused and follow the blueprint, have a clear vision of where you want to go. And again, like if all those things are online, it's pretty simple.
Why do you think people struggle with commitment? As you're talking, most of your philosophy is very aligned with mine, where it's find people that have the results you want, study them, success leaves clues, grow your grass or water your grass where you're at. Mm-hmm. But so many people, especially the younger generation, from your age to my age, they're all over the place. They're doing Forex and drop shipping and solar and pest and e-commerce, or they're trying to run this business or trying to run that. It feels like with all the opportunity in the world in 2025 and how much technology and access and information we have at our fingertips, I think committing to one thing through the ups and downs, through the unsexiness of going through the grind and the monotony of doing the same thing for years and years and years is becoming less sexy and less attractive. But I think that's where a lot of the growth and the joy is. What would you say when it comes to people's commitment levels, and how can people maybe double down on committing to something and actually sticking through with it?
Yeah, I think people oftentimes put their eggs in too many baskets, especially once they start to reach some sort of success, and they're like, okay, let me try all this other stuff. And the reality is, like, you should have all your eggs in one basket, grow that to be your freaking golden goose, and then once you have that to a certain point, and that's going to take some time, it's not going to always be sunshine and rainbows. Again, like you said, like the grass is greener where you water it 1,000%. I also like the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. That's a huge factor as well. Like, it's really easy to start looking at everyone else around you, whether it's in the same industry, outside of your industry, and compare yourself to them and be like, oh, I want that. I'm going to jump to that. Understand that they've probably been on this journey a lot longer than you, and everybody has a different path. And all that matters is that you make your journey worth it, right? And people fall short on comparing themselves a ton. I used to do that as well, but plant your roots where you're at. Grow your golden goose to something special. And once you hit a point where you've been in that for years and years and years to where it can fully sustain itself and you don't have to be there to make sure things are going well for it to run, that's when you can start doing other stuff. But if you're just trying to take your eggs and put them all over the place, like everything's going to fall apart because you don't have any leverage. Like you don't have any room to delegate, or you can't be in multiple places at once. And so I've always kind of had that thought process just from, talking to guys above me, and they're like, dude, just plant your roots. And then once you get to a point where you can do other things, 100% do that, and I hear from, upper guys at EcoShield, some of these guys are buying a house almost every month now and doing flips to it and Airbnbs and whatever it may be, because they planted their roots here and they got their golden goose so strong to where they can just put that money in other stuff. There's a guy who bought 20 houses in the past 2 years. It's insane. And so plant your roots and then eventually put some stuff elsewhere.
Well said, dude. On the investment topic, I'm curious. There's a lot of young people in your organization, including yourself, including myself. I consider myself young still, that are making a good amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons we're attracted into the direct sales space, because there's no cap on your income. You have a high active income that you can generate if you're willing to commit and be consistent. Some of the ideals that we've spoken about. Are you focused on financial investments? Are you focused on financial literacy? And what does that mindset look like? Because I think there's too many people in our industry that make a lot of money, they spend a lot of money. They make a lot of money, they spend a lot of money. And I think back to what you said, it's about getting clear on what you want. No one gets in the door-to-door just to have a nice lifestyle. They do it for freedom at the core of it. They do it because they want 6 hours in one Sunday, because they don't want to answer to a boss, because they don't want to have to raise their hand to go to the bathroom on a lunch break at a job. Mm-hmm. But if we don't water our seeds while we have it, then people will be able to leave this industry, unfortunately, have to go get another sales job or a 9-to-5 if they don't do it right. So what would you say when it comes to young people making sure they're being financially sound while they're in this amazing opportunity where they're able to cash flow at such a high level?
Yeah, no, I love that question. First, understand that you don't know anything, right? Like in high school, we weren't taught anything about real finances and how it works. Maybe if you got a dad or a mom that's in finance and can break it all down to you and taught you everything throughout your life, sick. I didn't really have that. And I think most people don't. And so after my first summer, I was really lucky. Actually, after my second summer, my first summer, I blew through all my money. I made like 16 grand. I legit blew through it in a month and a half.
Yeah, easy.
And that was when I realized how fast you can spend money, because I went from thinking I was rich to just absolutely poor. After my second summer, I was blessed to get introduced to a financial advisor, Connor, and it opened up my eyes to just how little I know. My piece of advice, whether you're 18, whether you're 25, 35, 45, talk to an advisor. If you can't afford an advisor, do some digging on your own and open up investment accounts, right? Open up a brokerage account, open up a Roth. Little things like that really don't require that much effort, and just stay consistent with it. And you don't have to start off doing a ton, just a little bit at a time. Like I started doing this when I was like 19 years old, 19 or 20, can't forget. But I opened up a brokerage account and a Roth, right? I started off just putting $500 a month in, right? It was probably 6 months to a year, I was putting $5,000 a month in, right? At such a young age. And when you look at the numbers and the compounding of that, and what it looks like when you start when you're young, to where you don't touch it and then you're 60, and you can retire with tens of millions in the bank, it really just puts you in a mindset of wanting to grow your money constantly and have your money work for you, as opposed to just making money and spending it right away. And so understand that the younger you start investing, the better off you'll be. Don't wait until you're 30 or 40 to start. Start now, start little, and learn from somebody who knows what they're doing. And don't be afraid to reach out to an advisor. A lot of advisors, you don't have to pay them up front. They just take a small percentage of it. And so you don't really have to come out of pocket except for the money that you're investing. And so look at it as just setting up your future self for success, and again, it's pretty easy at that point.
Compound interest, they say, is one of the world wonders.
Beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Oren, you've been amazing, dude. My last question for you is, I like to end on this. You've been in the game for a while. You've grown a lot. If the Oren today, double Golden Door winner, crushing it, on track for $30 million this summer in terms of revenue. If Oren today could go back to 18-year-old Oren, who is still kind of in his party boy phase, trying to figure out life, trying to figure out his way in the world, what advice would the Oren today give the 18-year-old Oren to accelerate his success, joy, and happiness?
Man, that's tough. 18-year-old Oren. I would probably just keep it real, I'd be like, hey, dude, understand just the way that you act right now, the way you think, your mentality, your behaviors, your actions, the friend group that you're in. It's childish, and you're not going to get anywhere if you don't make a change. And the sooner that you really just man up and make it happen and make the decision to change your life and actually have some action behind that, you're going to be good. And also understand that you can do great things. It doesn't matter, what your grades were in high school. Doesn't matter how tall you are. I'm not the tallest guy out there. Or nothing that happened in your past leading up to this point matters. Every decision you make from now moving forward will change everything. And as long as you just stay true to that, you're good. You're going to be around good people. You're going to be around good leaders. You've got a hell of a good father and mother to look at and reflect after them. Just don't let them down and do your duty. And I think if I said that to 18-year-old Oren, hopefully he'd listen. But he'd probably have a bigger summer than my first summer. So,
Love it, dude. Where can people get connected? Maybe they want to learn more about EcoShield or get connected with you.
Yeah. So you can follow me at Oren Nell on Instagram, ORENNELL. Hit me up through there. If you want to talk about work and what I do, how I got into it, the growth you can have, the money you can make, the personal development aspect of it, shoot me a DM. Always looking for new guys to come out for the summer. So
Love it, dude. Dude, you're the man. Appreciate you coming on.
Brother.
Guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Appreciate you tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on next week's episode. Peace.